Alright class, this is for those who may have missed the pitcher demonstration. This is a pitcher to show you how big it is. I'll put a needle next to it so you guys can see. There's another pitcher, and there is another pitcher right there. There are 3 different types of pitchers. These are convex, which means they're round. This one is concave. The requirements for this assignment: they need to be 8 inches. They need to have a handle in the back. It needs to be a pulled handle. And the main things I want you to learn today are how to do this part right here to make an actual spout. So I'm going to have my assistant film me. There's that. What you're going to need for this assignment is you're going to need a sponge, a needle tool, and a metal rib. Try not to get anyone else in there if you can. And you can sit down. So, making a pitcher. Some hard clay. First thing you're going to do, now this is for advanced students, so if you're like, hey, what's Mr. Brownberger doing? How is he doing making a cone or pulling, or how is he centering something? You need to go watch my tumbler or my cylinder demonstration rather than the advanced pitcher demonstration. You should already know how to center and pull comfortably. So, once you have the piece of clay centered, make your entry hole. Now if I ask you in class how thick should the bottom be of every project, with the exception of large bowls, I think they can be a little bit thicker on the bottom. Every pot should be about 1/4 of an inch on the bottom. Where you can test it, take a needle, stick it down in the center, pull it up. Recenter the clay really fast. And then I'm going to start to pull. Press your rim. It's very important when you make a pitcher that you have a nice thick rim. If you do not have a thick rim, then what will happen is your pitcher will have a much greater chance of ripping when you make your spout, and it's just not going to look as good. Now it is much easier to pull up a large cylinder from this point here. I'm pressing the rim right there, but it's much easier to pull a tall cylinder from this angle to this angle than it is pulling it straight and then having it come out like a V shape. It's much easier doing it this way. If you're going to pull something really tall, you want to get your hand nice and wet so it doesn't catch the sides of your arm. Come up, compress your rim. That's what I do after every single time. Do one more pull and we'll call it good. So
You can make it concave or convex. Convex being round, concave being like it's caving in. I'm going to make this one convex, which is going to come out. So I'll take my metal rib and try to make this thing look a little more convex. I'm taking my metal rib and I'm scraping off all the slip. You can see all of that. That's all slip that I'm just scraping off. Your pot will do two things when you take a metal rib and you go over it. It'll compress the molecules and make it stronger, but it'll also keep the pot from falling apart because it helps it become a little bit more dry. Scrapes off all the wet clay. So once I get the basic shape that I want, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push in towards the top. Press my rim. Feel it slip like it got off there. You can see that I'm spending a lot of time with my metal rib, just trying to get out all the angles and everything smooth. It's kind of my hope. Nice and smooth. Now what I'll do is I'll go one more time over the top of it, compress the rim. At this step, what I generally like to do now is I will clean off my hands. Get them all nice and clean. Now what I'm going to do is directly in front of me, and if you want to stand up and get over this, you can. What I'm going to do is directly above me, I'm going to take my two fingers like this, I'm going to push in just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my right hand, and I'm just going to keep my fingers there. And all I'm going to do is kind of shape this. And then I'll pull up with my, I'll take some of that clay and I'll pull up with my hand. And this is the part where you want a thick rim, because if you don't have a thick rim, this is going to look really thin. It's going to look kind of weird. Once you are done with this part, What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my finger, get it wet, and then this is called the shaky finger. I know it looks kind of weird, but what I'm gonna do is get my finger and get it wet. I'm literally just gonna go over the whole thing. For some reason, it just looks really nice when you do this. Over on the inside. And if you want, you can also push this part out. You can see I took my finger underneath it and I just kind of pushed it out. So it looks more like a pitcher shape. And the water will pour much more easy out of that point. If you want to put a design or a pattern on this, maybe I'll put a spiral on this just so you guys can see. I'll go from this part here and up. Okay, so there's my pitcher. Once this gets a little bit harder, I'll clean it up with my sponge. But as of right now, if you try to go over this with a sponge, you'll get a lot of grainy marks. But other than that, that is the pitcher demonstration. Thank you for watching.